Welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we're going to talk about the Chesapeake Bay Foundation in partnership with some local schools and organizations installing rain gardens. My guest is Tanner Council from the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is a really cool project that you guys have. Tell me, first of all, who's paying for it? Because there's a cost involved.
Absolutely. So this is the rain garden component is part of a larger grant funded by the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. It's one of their small watershed grants, and so this was all this work was focused on the Hampton River watershed. So the activities that we did there all were within the Hampton River watershed.
So the concept, like, what is a rain garden? To me, you know, a normal gardener, that is an unusual term. It's designed to...
It's designed to retain the rain. So a rain garden may look just like a typical garden, but if you were to dig down a little bit, you would see that there's a, in the case of these rain gardens, which we've done it for this area, there is a it's dug down 2 feet, it's filled with a bioretention mix, which is to say a sandy compost soil mix that allows water to percolate and to kind of hang out there for a little bit longer than a typical garden would. So it has the same aesthetics of a garden, but it's highly functional.
So if you dug down 2 feet in my garden, goodness knows what you'd find. But I mean, there should be dirt down there, but it's probably
a lot of clay.
A clay and a compacted.
In this area, we find a lot of clay, and in many cases, you know, even construction debris. Really tough stuff that doesn't filter that
and
well.
Rocks, which don't help much at all.
Correct.
Okay, so the whole goal then is to keep more water there on the site.
Exactly.
Which prevents water from washing out into the street.
Correct.
What happens when water, I'm just, you know, why do we care about water washing away?
Those stormwater, the water that comes from rain events, is the largest source of pollution to our waterways here in this area. It's also
because it's not the rainwater that's...
It's not the rain, it's everything that it picks up along the way.
Yes. Okay.
So that's everything that comes off from, you know, from nutrients, like nitrogen, phosphorus, picking up dirt and sediment, which is perfectly natural, but in large amounts, it clouds our waterways and causes many problems for the habitat. And then there's also all the toxics and stuff that you might imagine would run off a street.
Yeah.
So this
pesticides, oil, antifreeze, all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So instead of water just, you know, hitting your roof, running off your property, or running off of your driveway, or we talk about these different types of practices that kind of disconnect that and allow it to, again, retain the rain, sit around a little bit longer. So in a rain garden, a downspout from your roof would be directed into the garden. So, and the garden is designed to handle a certain amount of water, you know, based on how much your roof is sending off.
And you did these too, not in backyards, but in larger institutions like a school, which is a good bit of what we call impervious surface.
Right.
A bunch of, you know, roof and concrete where the water's got to go somewhere when there's a big rainfall.
We worked with schools, parks, and churches, because these are areas that have lots of public access. These are demonstration projects, so people can come see what is possible. The rain gardens themselves, the ones that we did, they are a little bit larger, you know, because we were able to treat larger sections of roof.
Right, and you've got a whole lot more coming out of those downspouts.
If this was at your residence, you'd be able to work on something on a smaller scale. And of course, at Chesapeake Bay Foundation, we have all sorts of information on things that you can do at home or at your property that can help reduce your pollution footprint. And that includes rain gardens, but lots of other practices as well.
And we will also say, you know, like many of our stormwater projects, there's 2 benefits. One is water treatment and reducing pollution.
Right.
But the other is, particularly in a big rainstorm, we have a lot of street flooding, and we're very low lying, and it doesn't always have a place to go. So it can help reduce some of the flooding in some neighborhoods. It's not going to fix everything.
Right. That's exactly right. I mean, the whole idea of retaining the rain and slowing it down, that's the same issue that causes flooding. So when at Chesapeake Bay Foundation, we look at issues related to recurrent flooding, sea level rise, things that you can do to mitigate that, and things that you can do to reduce pollution. And that Venn diagram, those overlap, those are practices that we're very, very interested in, and a rain garden would be one of those.
So where did you install these rain gardens?
If I get this in order, Air Power Park, Air Power Park, Bluebird Gap Farm, Spratley Gifted Center, First Baptist Church of Hampton, and our last one at Armstrong Elementary School. and they are all installed. The public can go and view those whenever those properties are open.
Right, and the schools, you don't want to go during the school day unless
Right, you want to go after. Yeah, but in church, maybe not go on Sunday for the church. And,
right. Unless they want you to go to the service first.
I was going to say, unless you're,
yeah, absolutely. Well, then you also did workshops, because part of it is, 5 rain gardens aren't going to make a big dent in the problems.
Part of the design of the grant was to install these rain gardens, survey the surrounding neighborhoods to find out what the attitudes and the kind of current base knowledge is for water quality practices in those neighborhoods, then to host workshops that were customized for those neighborhoods. So at this time we've hosted all 5 of those workshops. They were very, very popular, and we talked about practices. We introduced, a big part of this too is just so folks know that the education is a huge component. That some of that nitrogen, phosphorus, sediment, that those are big pollutants, that their local waterway is suffering from those. We talk about that. Then we get into the practices of rain gardens, rain barrels, and other practices like that.
So let's do that right now if we can, because we've missed the workshops. I'm sure I should have promoted them before they happened, but what are some easier, like I'm not going to dig down 2 feet necessarily in my backyard. What are some ways that I can make a dent in, in holding more of my rainwater as an average homeowner? Okay,
so first of all, on a gradient, everything from your sidewalk being the least effective way to retain water.
Right.
And then all the way to a rain garden. As long as you're kind of headed that direction, everything's a little bit better. So directing your downspout, disconnecting your downspout, for example. Take a look at your house and look at, is there downspout going underground, or is it being directed onto your driveway, or would it be directed onto your lawn? We talk about disconnecting the downspouts. If it's going underneath your property, it's being connected and it's being sent right through the typical stormwater system. We talk about disconnecting it, maybe setting it through one of your gardens, your existing gardens.
Oh, okay.
Or setting it into a rain barrel, for example.
And I'm just going to put in a plug right here. I know that our Clean City Commission does rain barrel workshops where they buy the bulk barrels that are used or whatever, and you put the connector in and you can paint them if you want. But they talk about rain barrels, and if you don't know where to get one, contact the Clean City Commission.
That's exactly right. Going further, we talk in the workshops, we also talk about native plants. Native plants don't require the fertilizer that is so troublesome for our waterways. They don't require as much maintenance either. So we worked with Countryside Gardens over here in Hampton, and they were at each workshop talking about all the beautiful plants that are native to this area that you can put into your property. And again, those are very thirsty plants that help retain some of that rain as well.
And yet a lot of those plants, which makes no sense, but they're also drought tolerant. So you don't need to water them as much in the other times of the year.
That's the beauty of natives.
Deep roots, and they're used to this climate. And a lot of people come here and try to plant what they had, when they lived in New England or somewhere else, and it just doesn't always work out.
So we have a lot of that information as well, just again, knowing which plants would be best, and it saves you time and money. It just makes sense, and it's better for our waterway. Some other practices that we've talked about, with the rain gardens as well, you don't have to dig down 2 feet. We're doing large buildings that we're draining lots of water. We use a formula to figure out, and it's pretty simple. You just punch it right in, and it spits out an answer for you, but to determine how deep that actual bed needs to be. In addition, some other practices may be if you can just kind of direct the downspout into an existing garden, for example, in case you don't want to dig out.
I've done that. You can get those little plastic kind of extender things that you can shape and point the water where you want it to go. And that helps the garden too, because it likes water.
You may notice in certain areas of your property where you do have a damp spot. That's where a lot of people are very interested. Okay, there's a little lake that starts to form after an inch or so of rain. That would be a good place to design a garden to install some of those native plants as well. So there's all sorts of stuff you can do.
I notice a lot of people in my neighborhood, instead of trying to keep the water there, they're like, oh, this is where the water naturally runs. I'm going to dig a trench. And that just directs it straight into the street. So you would say, no, we should put plantings there that slow it down and help to absorb.
In many cases, those plants, you'll notice very quickly that those plants will help to slow down that water. It goes the other direction too. Before you take out a large bush or take out a tree, consider what's happening on the property. I see all the time is where I live in my neighborhood, where they'll take out a tree, and the next time we have a storm, we have a huge amount of water that's collecting there. That is cause and effect. That tree absorbs an intense amount of water. So
yeah, trees are sneaky because you don't think of how big where the roots go until you try to dig. And you don't realize how much they're doing, I think.
I think they and I'm not a plant expert, but they do talk about how the roots of a tree are reflected in the canopy of a tree.
Right.
So there's that much going on underneath. So it's something that trees provide decades and decades of water quality benefits. They're very, very inexpensive. I would also say that trees are a great way to sort of, for occasions, for birthdays or anniversaries or, the birth of a child. Those are great ways to commemorate those and, again, provide something beautiful that provides lots of benefits to our area.
And I would say, I'm going back to the rain barrel because that's one of my favorite. And it's actually easy. You don't have to dig anything. You just have to be able to, disconnect your spout at the right place. Until you have one, you don't realize how much runoff. I mean, it's one side of my garage. It's not a large area. But we had a lot of rain recently, but I mean, it was full. It was really almost to the overflow spout. And I'm like, I did not know. And if there's that much coming off, one side, what's coming off my house, what's coming off the other side of the garage. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity in people's houses to do different things at different places.
Absolutely. And if everybody was just sort of starting by being aware of what the issues are, and if everybody did one little thing, we would see a noticeable difference. For example, in flooding and water quality. We do work on larger projects. We try to get to the source of those, but our real problem is far more diffuse. The issues, it's from non-point sources. So
50,000 homes in Hampton, that's a lot. That's a multiplier right there.
So, and that's why, being able to talk to the public, this is a great opportunity. If anybody was interested to contact the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, we'd be happy to talk with you more about the kind of things that you can do to either be involved or to reduce your pollution footprint.
And it certainly starts with not using more fertilizer than you need. Just to get a green lawn, you don't just throw it out there. You have to actually do a soil sample and do the math and figure out what you need.
Yes, doing a soil sample through Virginia Tech Cooperative Extension is very, very easy. I think it's $12 now, but that $12 could save you a lot of money on that $12 test will save you the money on fertilizer and on the effort that you're going out there and applying that fertilizer. I think that's a critical first step that we teach in the workshops.
Yeah, and if you mulch your grass and don't, you don't have to put as much on if you kind of leave on what's already there. Use what you have.
Exactly.
All right, well, so tell me how we can get more information if we're intrigued. I've already told people hampton.gov/HCCC, or actually I made it Clean City. That also works, so you can find it.
They could go to the CBF website and explore our website, which is cbf.org. Or you can call our Hampton Roads office, which is local 622-1964. And you could ask for me, Tanner Counsel, and I'd be happy to talk to you. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. And congratulations. I want to go out and see these. I think we'll have some footage of, because the other thing is the grant paid for some of the work and the education, but you had volunteers and students and parents and church members who did the expensive physical labor. Right.
Yes. So it was a matching grant. And we're able to match using that volunteer labor.
It's a wonderful way to do it, and it gets people involved. And when they see it and when they do it, it's easier for them to understand it and to take that knowledge back to their own homes.
It's our understanding that some local extension offices have been getting lots of calls for soil tests and to find out more about rain gardens. So something's working.
It's working. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I hope that you will take a look at what is coming down out of your drain spouts and different ways to accommodate that and keep it from flowing into the streets, into the bay unfiltered. Use a rain barrel, use some plantings, and really look at how you can help make a difference to the wildlife in the bay and also to flooding in your neighborhood. Thanks for watching.